Welcome to Ask the Security Guy. I'm Holly Magnuson, and this is episode number 41, recorded for March 2019. And why don't we get Shawn in the room? Hi, Shawn. How are you doing?
Hey, Holly, how's it going?
It's going well. Today, our question was brought to us by one of our viewers. And although I don't have one, I am very curious to hear more about smart TVs. Do you want to start off kind of by describing what we're defining as a smart TV?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the idea of a smart TV is almost an oxymoron because I grew up hearing it called the idiot box. So I'm a little torn on this one. However, taking that aside, um, the traditional definition of a smart TV these days means it is a TV that has some form of logic built in, so it can stream from Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or Vudu. And some of them have voice commands, and some even have webcams to allow, and built-in tools like Skype to allow room-based video conferencing from home to home.
A little scary if you ask me. My TV, it's not very smart unless I have my Chromecast in there or my Fire Stick, because that's good enough for me.
Well, even a Fire Stick, depending on which version you have, it uses Alexa, which is a voice recording or a voice-powered tool.
Yeah, and I don't really use the voice control, and I don't have an Alexa. I'm good.
Yeah, I have I've been experimenting a little bit with a Fire Stick, and the voice control you have to manually turn on and turn off, which I like. But that is really in a testing phase in our home. Otherwise, it's perpetually disconnected.
Nice. So go ahead.
So one of the questions that you raised and that I've been thinking a lot about was, how can these things, what could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and to me, let's see, I've got a webcam, potentially a mic, potentially basically a small computer embedded in my TV with unknown patch levels, with major vendors who are known for selling ad-related information about people.
Mm-hmm.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing. I can't see anything going wrong with this.
I mean, everything seems perfectly reasonable there. I mean, it's cool because it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a computer. I don't need a Chromecast. I don't need a Fire Stick. Everything's just built in my TV, right?
Yeah.
So there are a number of concerns with these devices. And, from a security and privacy perspective, we've got a bunch of different things going on, and we'll talk about, what do you do if you have one of these things, or if you still want to have one of these things after we're done. So let's start with the security side. Can these things be hacked? The answer is yes, absolutely. Some of these TVs use what's called PMP, plug and play protocol, or UPnP actually. And what that stands for is Universal Plug and Play Protocol. And what it does is it will interact with your home router to allow certain ports to be allowed from the internet into your TV. Again, what could possibly go wrong? The other thing is, we're talking about some of these devices have built-in mics or built-in webcams. Now, we've provided counsel, over the years, and for those who have heard our security awareness classes, we talk about, webcams in sensitive locations in your home, or should your webcam have a little cover on it, or a piece of tape, or even a Band-Aid when it's not in use, because of the potential for being hijacked. Well, with a smart TV, that potential exists on both the mic and the camera. So there is a potential, a risk, and it's quite real, that the code on those could be compromised, the webcam or the mic could be accessed, and someone could literally eavesdrop on your home for whatever room that you have this device in. So for instance, I know a lot of people have TVs in their bedrooms. Okay, well, now you've essentially introduced a mic and a camera into your bedroom. I leave that to you to interpret whatever that means to you.
No, I think not.
um, so the general hacking that we're seeing of these devices so far is playing random videos from YouTube. A malicious attacker can remotely raise and lower the volume. They can disconnect the TV from the network, but more interestingly, they can make the TV a part of a bot network, which can then use your home internet to launch attacks against someone else, meaning your TV could be used as part of a bot network or basically a small army, or in some cases a very large army of low power devices launching an attack against somebody that the attacker doesn't like. Now, these bot armies are also rented. So people build them and then rent the services out to other people. So theoretically, what you could do is, if you go into the black market, if you know where to go, and there's a company you don't like, you can hire one of their bot armies to launch an attack against a company that you're upset with. And it will knock them off the network. And it could cost them, a lot of money in e-commerce dollars. It could cost them reputational damage. Worse, as part of the tracking that is always going on by law enforcement, when these devices get tracked back to your home, there's a potential for your personal responsibility there too. So some of that's theoretical, some of it's real. The hijacking and playing of random videos and adjusting volume and disconnecting the TV from the network and bot networks, that has already happened with a number of devices by several of the major players. Now, since then, they've all released updates. Those have been patched. But the problem is, like with many devices, you get 2 or 3 years down the road, and the manufacturer is going to make a decision as to whether or not they want to continue writing updates for that device. So, if they decide to discontinue updates, you have what you have, and if there's a new vulnerability found, well, you just have to deal with it.
Because it's that idea of built-in obsolescence. I can't say that word today, but they want to buy the latest and greatest, and so why patch the old stuff when you might buy the new one?
Well, and we're seeing the same thing with home wireless routers. Mm-hmm. Vulnerabilities are being found all the time in all the major home wireless routers, and I say wireless routers, but it includes non-wireless devices, but those aren't very popular anymore. But manufacturers typically will only provide updates for a few years before they just discontinue it or discontinue support for it. And these devices, the TVs and other things that are internet connected in your home, they're in that same category. They're low cost. So the return on investment for a manufacturer is not really that great. And neither is their incentive to keep these things patched.
So I guess the $1 million question is, what can I do if I have one of these devices to protect myself, my family?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. It's really a matter of personal choice, right? For me, because of my home situation and the nature of the work I do, I don't even allow these devices in my home. And so my TVs are all stupid. I don't have any smart TVs in my house. But if you do, and if you're listening to this, and we've struck a chord, one of the most effective things you can do is just disconnect it from your network. These are wireless connected mostly. Just go into the settings and turn that off, and make sure it's not connected to your home network. that essentially turns it into a dumb device again. Now you lose some functionality, you lose the built-in Netflix and the built-in apps that come with it, but it's a trade-off, right? And it's always a trade-off with privacy and security and convenience. So I can't tell our users what to do, but I can, the best I can do there is present the options. And aside from the hacking component, really the other thing to be concerned about too is privacy. So all of the major vendors have had a run-in with the FTC regarding collecting and selling your usage data that they collected automatically from your device. Well, that usage data and that, what are you watching and what shows are you watching and all this other stuff that may not have value to you has a lot of value to advertisers because they use that then to generate targeted ads. And you would be really surprised at how much that really generic data tells about a family or a household, because a lot of it includes location data.
Which is always kind of scary that they, have the location data in there. Also explains why every time I go on Facebook, I see or my Google stuff and see all these ads and information about MASH, since I'm now in season number 8 of watching through all of them.
Right. I mean, and I've heard people, a number of people say that, they were thinking about something and the next thing a Facebook ad popped up about it.
I think no more than think about it, but
yeah. Well, no, actually, I've seen people actually go down that route, and they've actually reached out to me and say, I never even did a search on this, and there's nothing in my email history about this. Well, so the question then is, were you talking about it around a voice-enabled device?
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to the smart TVs, I mean, we have these digital home assistants like Google Home and Alexa and other things. And there have already been cases where Alexa's been mistakenly triggered to record a conversation and then send it to somebody. Well, if these devices are sitting there listening, they're listening for a key phrase. But if they're misconfigured or if there's a bug in the software, because let's face it, bugs in software happen. That's how security professionals make their living, is abusing those bugs. You have to wonder what is being transmitted. What privacy do you really have when you essentially have a high-end microphone in your home? The one instance with another product, this was actually a smart TV that was voice enabled. The data it was collecting was being sent not back to the manufacturer, but to a third party for processing, which by itself isn't, that's disconcerting because, when you signed you accepted the terms of use on the page, it didn't say anything about that third party. But what was really worrying was the security researcher who captured that traffic between his TV and this third party. What he realized was the data that was being sent wasn't even encrypted. And he was able to pull down audio files of his own voice. So there's proper security controls around the transmission and storage and processing of this data. This is a manufacturer that just wasn't doing any of it. And worse, what they were doing was they were using a port that is supposed to be encrypted, but they didn't turn on the encryption. They just made it look like it was being encrypted. So it's kind of deliberate.
Absolutely nuts. So, is there a resource that we could go to that would tell us which are the most secure smart TVs? Did you find that?
Not really. It's right now. It's really just a wild west out there. We find out about which TVs are vulnerable because somebody hacked them. And then usually after it becomes publicly known, the manufacturer will release an update. And then that is, either you have to go out and manually update your TV, or they push it down automatically, which is less common. But again, there's really no rhyme or reason to this. And you've got Google and Alexa out there as well doing their own thing with voice recognition software. Even on smartphones. If you have an Android device or an Apple device, you've got a digital assistant there that is listening for voice commands if you have that turned on. So just be thoughtful about, what are these things actually listening to?
So, final advice for people? I mean, you've talked about you don't have the devices, and we kind of have to determine the trade-off. How can
every person has to determine the trade-offs?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, if you have a situation where you already have one of these devices in your home, cover the webcam.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you have to be intentional about when it's being used. Disconnect it from your network. If you're actually, if you're concerned about that level of security. I would also say that, take a look at the mic settings as well. Is voice control of your phone or your TV something you really want? Or are you okay with using a remote? Or, when I was a kid, I was the remote for my dad. I had to get up and go turn the dial on the TV. So, I remember that.
We all were. That was part of being a child. And there were only 3 stations, maybe 4 on a good day.
Yeah, and even today, though, most standard remotes are IR, which is, it's just in your house. It's fairly secure. But again, at the end of the day, if there are software updates for your device and you decide to keep this connected, check regularly for software updates, because when those patches come in, just like on your computer, just like on your phone or your tablet or whatever else you're using, the software patches are coming down for a reason, usually because they found something that was broken, or there's new enhancements to functionality. But a lot of times these days is to fix security concerns.
Good advice. And if you have more questions about this topic, always feel free to contact us, iso@apu.edu. Or you can, if you know me, you can contact me directly. So feel free to do that with your questions. Shawn, final thought before we sign off?
Well, again, this is a matter really of personal choice. But, our goal is to make sure that users are aware of what these things are capable of.
Right. The possibilities.
Yep. So at the end of the day, you have to make the decision about what you're comfortable with and take it from there.
That's right. So with that, I think we're done. Shawn, anything else?
I'll do it.
All right. If you haven't done so, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You'll be able to get updates when we're live or when we're posting a new show. And until next month, we'll see you then.
All right. Sounds good.